Happy Thursday. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Thank you for waking up with Wesley. So we're going to talk about some March weather folklore in this edition of Wake Up with Wesley. So basically, have you heard of this phrase before? They talk about March weather and they call it in like a lion, out like a lamb. There's a lot going on there. If you've never heard of this, I'll try to break it down for you in a very short amount of time. First of all, what do you know about lions? They roar. They're very exciting, and it can be rough if you are dealing with one. What do you know about lambs? They're usually pretty quiet, tranquil, calm, and that is what we're talking about weather-wise, whether it's lion-like weather, severe storms, or lamb-like weather, basically just a sunny day. So let's break down this. Again, it can be kind of complicated to think about, but it's just kind of a folklore that you might have heard some people mention. So generally in March, if the weather is stormy at the beginning of the month, lion-like, then the weather is generally expected to be quiet at the end of the month, lamb-like. That's the folklore. Or vice versa. If the weather is quiet at the beginning of the month, then it's expected to be stormy at the end of the month. So usually you have one or the other. However, in great 2025 fashion, maybe we'll just lose all the lambs and we'll just go double lion. So it might be in like a lion and out like a lion too. Now you might be, maybe you don't remember what happened at the beginning of this month, but we actually did have some severe weather on Mardi Gras Day. Now it was technically in the evening. We were able to get our parades in during the day on Mardi Gras just fine, but then in the evening we had this severe storm line move through. It had an EF1 tornado in George County causing damage. You can see the tornado damage in George County on the very far right of this, as well as this uprooted tree. Those pictures were taken by the National Weather Service. And then you have this other tree in Stone County near Wiggins that was not in the tornado, but actually some straight line winds knocked that one down. So yeah, Mardi Gras 2025 was in the first week of March, early March. So the month in some ways was in like a lion because of that. And then will it be out like a lion? The final day of March is Monday, next Monday. And that's a day that we could find some pretty strong thunderstorms in the area. We are looking at the futurecast for next Monday, and this is an actual risk of severe weather. You can see how stormy it looks at times on Monday morning, as well as in the middle of the day on Monday. And then by the time we get to the late afternoon, we might begin to see some improvement in the weather locally. But it certainly looks like the next week in the final day of March could be kind of lion-like. The weather is exciting, maybe it's a little rough. So something to keep an eye on as we go into your forecast. Now, of course, before we get to Monday, we got to get through the weekend. And there's another system that's going to bring us some rain coming into Saturday. So for Saturday, there's a 70 to 80% chance for rain showers in the local area. And we are starting to see some of the high resolution models show what they are seeing for Saturday. We're going to give you a closer look at Saturday. So there you can see it a bit larger on your screen. So now that we're getting our high resolution models to take their first look, we are finding that maybe there could be some hours on Saturday morning that aren't as terribly rainy for the 6 southernmost counties. You can see some breaks in the rain, maybe just some passing showers locally. Whereas the heavy stuff Saturday morning is closer to Natchez, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, and other portions of coastal Louisiana. But as we go to Saturday afternoon, take a look at this. Okay, 1 o'clock, maybe we're doing okay, but by 2, 3, and 4 o'clock, it's looking like washout territory in parts of South Mississippi. You can see that red color indicating heavy rain, and there will even be a risk of flooding with some of this stuff that happens on Saturday. So looks like a very heavy rain afternoon and evening for your Saturday plans. That's from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Looks like basically a solid wall of rain. There could be some thunderstorms in the mix too, but the main focus on Saturday is rain Right now, there's not really much of a risk of severe storms. We don't have any of those level 1, level 2, whatever. We don't have any level of severe weather risk for Saturday. Now, by the time we get to about midnight Saturday night, most of the rain will probably be pushing off over the Alabama line, and that might help us to see some improvement going into Sunday. Sunday, what to know about Sunday? So there's two things that are important to understand about Sunday's forecast. We're going to kind of be in between systems, so it won't be as rainy as Saturday. I wish I could take Sunday's rain chance down to 0%, but we are still seeing some model information suggesting that there could be some rain in the area at times. But you should not expect Sunday to be as heavy of a rain as Saturday. And then we get that storm system like we just showed you already for Monday, and that's the one with the risk for severe storms. Storms that could be capable of triggering severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings on Monday. So a lot going on there in the 7-day forecast to keep track of as we round out the month of March. Of course, you're looking at the 2 first days of April as well. And you can see on Tuesday, April 1st, looks like we'll get some drier weather into the picture as things dry out. We can take a look at next Tuesday's futurecast. Shouldn't really show much in the way of rain at all. Looks like you got plenty of sun. We're getting a nice dry wind coming in from the north and the east. A few clouds at times, but no rain pretty much. So that chance for rain on Tuesday could be 20% or less, and that's pretty nice. But if you are planning some weekend plans, just keep in mind that we will see the first of 2 systems on Saturday. I actually put this model rain projection together, showing the rain that we could see, rain totals through Saturday and Sunday and Monday. If you take 3 days of rain, add them all up, you get these numbers. We got 2 different computer models in this forecast range. The GFS computer model, which shows a really heavy bullseye of rain over portions of coastal Louisiana. That could be a zone that picks up more than 3 inches of rain. So it's important to watch and see if that wiggles around. If it moves closer to us, that could be a worse Saturday through Monday. But right now, it looks like it's mostly offshore. But this is just one computer model. What if we switch it over to the European computer model? It's actually worse. And you can see some much higher numbers for South Mississippi. So notice that we are looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain. So our models, they're not in agreement about this, which leads to some uncertainty in the forecast. So it's unclear exactly how much rain we're going to see out of this through Saturday and Sunday and Monday, but it does look like it will be some rain, and it does look like we're probably going to see at least about an inch. I would say my forecast will be 1 to 3 inches, where I just kind of basically split the middle between the 2 models. The GFS, as you can see, looking like around 1 inch. The European looking like around 4 inches, so I would call it about 1 to 3. We have a more zoomed in rain map, which shows just our 6 southernmost counties. So take a look at this one. So this is the GFS model. Again, 3 days worth of rain, Saturday and Sunday and Monday. And you can see our numbers here look to be around an inch of rain. But then you look at the European model and the numbers are much higher. You can see numbers of 1 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches or more in the area. So again, the models, same time, but different solutions. It's that disagreement that us forecasters don't really like to see, because it means there's some uncertainty in the forecast and it's harder to know exactly what to expect. But we still have some days in which the models will come into closer agreement, so we'll be watching for that in the days to come. By the way, we are looking at temperatures today that will reach the 70s and 80s, but were you out and about yesterday? Look at this temperature recap from Wednesday afternoon. Look at that 85-degree temperature in Gulfport. That was actually the warmest day of 2025 so far, was yesterday. And you will notice in our 7-day forecast, there's actually no cool downs in sight for the foreseeable future. So don't expect any return to a cooler pattern anytime soon as we round out the month of March and move into the month of April. And again, like we just mentioned, maybe it's rounding out the month of March like a lion, out like a lion. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Take care, and we'll see you around.